Program Director. To be joining us today. We are in particular honored by the President of the National Chambers and the Portugal. We express our sincere appreciation for your leadership, guidance, and continued support for the work of the Bar. Your presence today underscores the significance of this occasion, and we are grateful to have you here. We can connect. And we also wish to acknowledge the Honorable President of the Club of Honor, whom we had the privilege of inviting to join us today. The Judge President expressed a sincere desire to share in this occasion. However, due to prior commitments, she is unable to attend. She extends a warm greetings, best wishes to all present, and we remain grateful for continued support of the work regarding the community. We also like to offer an apology on behalf of Mr. Marzi from the World and Zibunele FM. They were also supposed to be here today, but unfortunately, they are unable to join us today. Colleagues, today affords us an important opportunity to strengthen professional relationships, reflect on matters affecting the administration of justice, and reaffirm our collective responsibility to uphold the highest standards of integrity and ethical conduct in the profession. I think the National Bar Council of South Africa remains steadfast in its commitment to fostering collaboration, supporting excellence, and safeguarding the independence of the profession. I hope I acknowledge everyone. There's three members that we are expecting. I don't think they're going to join us later. It's Advocate Joe from the South African Bar Association, and then also Ms. Charlie from Legal South Africa, and Dr. Moses from the National Employees Association. I don't think they're going to join us, but so once again, if I didn't acknowledge you, it was not intentional, please accept my apology. And thank you for all your presence and participation today. May today's engagement be meaningful and reaching for each of us. Enjoy the luncheon afterwards and conversations that will follow. Thank you.
Thank you once again for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to introduce our provincial, sorry about that, I introduce an honorary member of the National Bar Council of South Africa, and he's handing over to successors. He's one of our senior legal practitioners, and for many years assisted the privilege program. He will set the tone of our meeting. That will be none other than Advocate Johnson. Can you give him an applause?
Son of one's age when I got up there, struggled a bit to get up, firstly. And secondly, I said to Advocate Rodriguez, big parole. So I'm going to say, this is the first time that I make the speech and I'm put on my cloth. I reading glasses. Honorable Justices, beloved colleagues, leaders of many organizations. And I think, and I took a particular lead out of that with Pitt, is, but not mentioning certain people, let me also include everybody. all royalty, all of you, queens and kings, princesses that are present, welcome, welcome, one and all. Maybe we must start just a brief history about this organization. In 1984, this bar was known as the Alternative Bar Association under the auspices of IASA. And this bar was then recognized by the late Advocate Zalomar. He was an advocate and also served as Minister of Justice of the Republic of South Africa under the then President Nelson Mandela. Subsequent to that, IASA was renamed because a lot of negative connotations came with the name IASA. The fact that the word in there was independent. And that was seen by many that the bar set themselves aside and apart and didn't and were not in sync with the rest of the legal fraternity. And got negative comments about the then established bars. So the bar name was changed to the National Bar Council of South Africa. And this happened in the year 2000. Now, for those that don't know, and there are a lot of people, not saying one present, but in the Western Cape, they still don't know. The National Bar Council is and should be seen on the same, in the same light as the GBC. We are a bar with chapters in all of the provinces. We're just as prolific in all the provinces as the GBC is. Without, we just pause there for a second, just to let you know. The note that I have here was drawn up by, we all have assistants and PAs and advisors. Now, this was drawn by one of them. And so, and they drawn up for me without fact checking with me, getting me to proofread it before it gets printed. And that's just not mine. He's sitting over there. You have seen him walking around with a big hat on. Without further ado, I'll just finish. The Western Cape chapter of this bar association, 31 years old. And they're pioneer. And other council, there are other council present here, and I, well, let's say other council, I maybe should mention the names. I can remember myself, let me start again, as an English speaking people need to start last, Edgar Rodriguez, and I. And I remember my little colleague sitting there with a lovely tie there, with specs, at the Capetonian. We were the founder members, part of the founder group of this book. And I'm glad to see that they're still around. And when we started this and we were called to the bar, we had a vision. It was to aid the legal profession, to facilitate access to justice, and coupled with that was we wanted to serve people, our clients, by adopting affordable rates at that time, part of our vision, and also to give them access to high court litigation. Because without being negative in that, This was during the years before 94. And before 94, there were very few advocates of color, especially Western Cape, I thought. Let alone judges of color. And part of the boss vision also came to, we were part of the grouping, the group that was in the form of the formation of the legal practice councils and drafting of the legal practice act. And one of the things that we are known for in the act is the section dealing with fidelity count advocates. Now, for those that don't know, fidelity count advocates are the advocates that practice direct access to the client through the fidelity fund. And also for those that don't know, the National Bar Council of South Africa is the only bar nationally that accepts fidelity count advocates into the realm. The GBC does not. They don't like the idea of fidelity count. Moving forward, the other honorary members, the senior echelons of the National Bar Council have been present, namely Advocate Potgieter, and of course, Advocate Moti, you don't have to do project. I'll mention you do. So, Advocate Moti is a long-standing advocate of the bar. We are because of what he put and for his leadership. And for all that time, I was a member of the National Executive. So was Advocate Potgieter. And the other advocates, Advocate Rodriguez and Advocate Clarius, they were looking after the National Bar Western Cape chapter. And also, I forgot to mention that welcome to those that are online. And of course, Global are saying the Honorary Justice is present. And I want to say that I'm not being too full, but I count Judge Tulare as a good friend because we met and we had when we shared confidences, and that you only share with friends. We shared confidences while he was an acting judge of the Western Cape. And when he walked in this morning, he says, "You wonder what happened to me." So I said, "Don't worry. I'm coming to visit you on tea," because it's the same question that Judge Andre de Frange told me, but I forgot that it's a recess. Although we are still sitting today, and I think the learned attorney, Mr. Booth, popped into court the other day, and he saw us. And I've got my PA just showed me I've got 5 more minutes. Well, when you get 4 months, you go a minute over. And I want to say that we also thank the people that work with the bar and work with our members, such as the legal aid board, the judicial system that has given our members work. And also, since 2024, the state attorney has come on board and has given many of our members work too. So we're grateful for that, but that's puts some bread on the table for our members. And we're grateful for that. Lastly, second to last, we want to thank all of you present that we count as friends of the National Bar Council. Thank you. Because without you, we wouldn't be who we are. And lastly, I'm the underformer that's advertised. Lastly, a bit of levity. I would think we should not be remiss. There was something I read this morning. What's the difference between an accountant and a legal representative? Very simply, an accountant knows that is boring. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony Johnson, for setting the tone. The tone has been set. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the next speaker. I'm honored to introduce Attorney William Booth. I'm joined by my seniors that this well-known branch of legal practitioner always stays in contact with our bar. The National Bar Council of South Africa was shocked after the use of the plot to seek demise of this articulate and seasoned lawyer. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Booth.
Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. Judge Tulari, and good to see you again. I was going back to think when our last battle in court was probably in America. And in fact, I've known you even longer from your days in the magistrates. And I think it was good that one expands the pool of judges to include ex-attorneys, for example, ex-magistrates, for example, that you pooling judges who've got that particular experience and they're able to deal with cases having that history and experience, so they understand what's going on in the lower courts, for example, what's going on in the prisons and what's going on in the police stations when people get arrested. So I believe that's very, very important. Thank you for inviting me. Indeed, it is so. I think I have spoken at a few AGMs of the National Bar Council of South Africa. I think the one was in Port Elizabeth when I was online. There was another occasion even before that when I came and just chatted, exchanged ideas in person. I think that is important to keep this kind of exchange open. We do represent legal practitioners. Since the Legal Practice Act came in, I always said, we are all lawyers. There shouldn't be any distinction. There shouldn't be a distinction, and where some advocates who have trust accounts, as Mr. Johnson referred to earlier, cannot be part of whatever organization there is in South Africa. That is completely wrong. And I've always striven for trying to amalgamate the legal practice, legal practitioners, to bring them kind of all together in one pool. We are all counsel. You appear in the lower courts, the regional court, the High Court, Supreme Court of Appeal, and even in the Constitutional Court. So that's important, and I think that's what we must strive to achieve. Unfortunately, the public never seem to know the difference. Yeah. So we must tell the public exactly who we are and exactly what we do. Mr. Johnson, when you ask your PA to do your heads of argument, and you come and appear in front of Judge Tulari, and as you are going through your heads of argument, you suddenly, where does this case come from? It's very, very dangerous to do that.
Guys, use AI.
Yes, absolutely. AI can also be problematic. So I wrote an article recently, The Collapse of the Court System. It was received by some with a bit of criticism, but I think in general, it was received very positively. And that was the whole idea behind writing the article. It indicated that prosecutors, judges, magistrates, lawyers, all have huge problems in our courts because of the collapse of the infrastructure at our courts. Toilets, running water. I don't know if anybody's ever appeared up in in Mpumalanga, but when you go there, in the heart of where the electricity should be, the electricity, even after load shedding, isn't working. There's no water. Courts have got to be stopped. Access to justice. Witnesses come from far, far afield, and they cannot be accommodated at court, and they constantly come to court. They sit in the corridor and sometimes have to rub shoulders with people they are going to testify against. That is wrong. There should be proper facilities, consulting facilities, witness facilities, so that you can feel comfortable and not threatened when you arrive at court. So I think this is something we've been speaking about for Mr. Paris and I. We on the local provincial efficiency committee. We met with the JP recently. And yes, we can always criticize. Some people say we've been talking about a court that collapsed in Malmesbury and it hasn't been fixed. Hermanus Court has been falling apart, where the regional court sits in a container. You go and you have accused literally on top of the magistrate. The magistrate walks out, has got no privacy, has got no security. This cannot be tolerated. We have to do something about it. So what Judge Bokwana has indicated is there will be a group of lawyers, magistrates, prosecutors, police, some ex-police are here. Or should I not mention that? So that we can pool our experience. How do we fix? They built a beautiful court in Pleasantburg Back. But electricity is not working. There's no security there. I was going to go up there, where we sat at yesterday, the regional court. They phoned and said, well, please don't come because the court isn't operating. So before you build the court, please talk to those that know what is going on, that can come forward with ideas and kind of put forward proposals that we can have courts that are user-friendly, witness-friendly. You appear in court for an accused and you go down to the cells under them. It's disgusting. When accused are arrested, and don't forget, some people are arrested who may be innocent. They are locked up in police lockup, holding stuff. Decent people, often with the cases, a lot of nonsense, and the conditions are atrocious. So I think this is a holistic aspect. We all have to look and get together, put forward our ideas, experiences, so that we can avoid the collapse of the criminal justice system in this country. But that's the way it's going, where nobody does anything to sort it out. Palm Ridge High Court, Palm Ridge Regional Court, Palm Ridge District is an amazing, amazing building. But to get there, you have to drive across potholes. You can't get parking. There is limited security. Why is that? The court was actually built in the wrong place. It does not provide safe, secure environment for witnesses, or for lawyers, or for prosecutors. I appeared in the Kempton Park Regional Court, the senior prosecutor's office. You can't get into it because there are dockets lying around. You have to battle your way through. People can't work under those conditions. Regional court magistrates have sometimes 10, 15 or more cases on the court file. They can't deliver proper judgments. They would have to work day and night because in some of those regional court cases, they are very tricky, complicated, commercial type cases. You need to know what to do. In bail courts, Cape Town, Wynberg, even further afield, there are so many cases on the court roll. One magistrate has to deal with 30, 40 cases a day. They must split it up. There must be more appointments of efficient, experienced magistrates who can cope and handle cases in those courts. But we have to talk about this, and we have to try to resolve the problem. So let me leave you with that note that we are working on it. and all of us must be working on. And ideas must be thrown together, put into the big hat, and let's take out the solution. There is a solution.
Yes.
Thank you once again for inviting me. It's great to chat, and we look forward to further meetings similar to these, and maybe a couple of parties as well, where it's kind of even better to exchange ideas where everybody feels relaxed. So thank you once again.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Booth. Moving along, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to the next speaker. But I was asked to read this short or brief profile. It is commonly known that in the Western Cape province, we find 4 universities of choice which facilitate access to the legal profession. The National Bar Council of South Africa has partnered and do its best to focus on UNISA Law Campus. It is a stakeholder with activism which infiltrated the communities in corners of the Western Cape. I introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Nomonde Felicia. She was the legal practitioner in the so-called URI campus debacle at Stellenbosch. Just on that note, our bathrooms, ladies and gentlemen, are easy to find in this facility. Let us welcome to come board.
Greetings, colleagues. I send my on-board meetings to the on-board judges, and I stand on the observed protocol. I want to respect time, so I won't mention each and every honorable guest here this morning. As introduced, my name is Ms. Nomonde Felicia, and I represent the UNISA Law Clinic under the UNISA College of Law. So just in summary, what we do as the UNISA Law Clinic is we offer pre-legal services to the indigent members of the public. As introduced, that is one of our highlight cases where we assisted the students at Stellenbosch University, and that is actually how I came across Advocate Tavis. That's how I got introduced to him, where he offered us support, and that is how the relationship with the National Bar Council of South Africa came about. While we represent members of the public, we also train students, and I think my talk this morning is going to be mainly about how our relationship is strongly standing with the Bar Council through that initiative. So we are housed mainly in Belleville Magistrates Court, Bishop Davis, Cape Town Magistrates Court, Goodwood, Wynberg, Blue Downs. So in any of those courts, you will find one of our practitioners. Prevalent matters in our office is harassment matters, domestic violence matters, evictions, divorces, maintenance, and matters that have to do with children. While executing this mandate of giving free legal services to the members of the public, we also train students, UNISA graduates rather, through the practical vocational training program. So we host candidate legal practitioners in our offices. And that is not something that we do by ourselves. We rely heavily on stakeholders. We rely heavily on members of the legal profession to assist us in raising these students and bringing them to the level where they are efficient within the practice. The third, which, like I said, I'm going to focus on, 5 minutes is very little. So next time we would like to present a PowerPoint to say. But the third that I would like to speak about is the training that we do for the development of existing law students that we offer to first to 4th year LLB students. And that is what I would like to recognize the NBCSA for and acknowledge them for. Because throughout the program, since our offices launched in 2022, the NBCSA has offered us massive support into those programs. And before I even start speaking about the NBCSA, I would start speaking about Dash Tilabri because he has also contributed to one of our programs that speaks to our students, where in 2024, he gave an excellent address to the students at our career guidance workshop, where the point of the workshop was to bring students and enlighten the students to the various career paths that the students can explore after they graduate. We all know that the attorney and advocate area is highly saturated, and to be honest, not everybody wants to do that, but students find themselves under pressure to become attorneys and advocates because that's what they think being a law graduate is. I also want to recognize Advocate Dudley Johnson, who acted as a moot court judge last year in our moot court competition between our students, where the students got to be in a courtroom at Belgium Magistrates Court, wear robes, and present to him as a judge. So that's an excellent opportunity for students, and something that some of them had never even thought they would be able to experience. But the feedback that he gave to the students, gentle and very wise, and the students left the setting feeling quite empowered. Some of the students that were part of that program are currently doing vacation work program at our offices for the December holidays. And you can really see the confidence that is built in some of these programs and interactions with the legal practitioners. I also want to recognize Mr. Bobotyana, who also was a judge at the debate competition that the students had earlier this year, where the students were debating land expropriation. And once again, the fact that the students get to interact with legal practitioners of this caliber is the confidence booster for them. Once you interact with these students after this, you can really see how they take everything that was imparted by the legal practitioners and apply it to practice. The outgoing or the former chairperson of the NBCSA has also been part of our programs when he spoke at our 2024 gala dinner, challenging us as a law clinic, and we are still working on that to extend our reach. Where he challenged us and reminded us that we cannot only focus on the big areas like your Gauteng and Western Cape and Limpopo. We have to go out, and we are still working on that to reach areas like KZN and Eastern Cape. I also want to recognize in absentia the APA. They do a great work in empowering our students. They host our students every twice a year for about 2 weeks in their Weinberg Regional Court, where Professor Yo will take our students through the program, through what she does every day, through the court processes, introducing them to the court staff and what it's actually like to be in a criminal court. So the point of this address this morning is, this afternoon, is to recognize and to really show the members that are present this morning how the power of collaboration can work together in building the legal profession. We all speak about how the legal profession is supposed to be, how legal practitioners are supposed to behave and handle themselves. But, we don't focus at the grassroots level. Sometimes we forget that, where we came from, where we started, how it's like to be a junior. So I want to thank the members of the NBCSA for support, the wide support that they have shown us ever since we launched in 2022 in the Western Cape. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for actually introducing almost all the members that I acknowledged this morning were introduced to us by him. He is never absent in anything that we do in our office, whether it's events of this nature, whether it's meetings, whether it's just reaching out to find out how he can help. And I really want to send my appreciation to you. Without collaboration with our stakeholders, we would not be where we are. So with that, I want to extend an invitation to the members at large who have not explored the community of UNISA. Our offices are always open. We are based in Cairo, and because we are technologically advancing, most of our announcements are online and most of the work that we do is online. So if you are on social media, you will find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, which is Unisa Law Clinic. That is where you can see all the work that the Unisa Law Clinic does, any announcements and any ways in which you can be part of the community. However, if that is also not something that piques your interest, you're more than welcome to please take my numbers afterwards and we can start the conversation as to how you can be part of the community. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Commissioner. One promise that I make is that on the next occasion, we will improve on the allocation of time to allow our guests not to speak under pressure. Thank you very much. I'm told that these gifts that are there are for our guests. So at the later stage, they will be handed up to our guests. The next speaker that I'll be introducing, I'll introduce the acting chairperson of the Black Lawyers Association. He's an attorney, Mr. Capetonian. The Black Lawyers Association was established in 1974. It needs no further introduction. And my colleague, Mr. Capetonian, will address you further on access to justice in the Western Cape legal profession. Can we welcome Mr. Capetonian?
To Judge Sulare, acting Justice Mapom, and various leaders of the profession, shall say, all of that. Indeed, I am the acting chairperson of the Black Lawyers Association in the province. In the absence of my chairperson, acting Judge Mapomo, I have the duty to lead the organization. As already stated here, we are pleased and honored to address the various legal minds under one roof. It does not always happen like this. It is indeed an honor to us. We are meeting in this room at a very, very difficult time of the profession. We understand that there are so many challenges in the various corners of the profession, and I have no doubt that as the NBCSA, when you made your deliberations earlier this morning, you touched base on a number of them, and I have got no doubt that you would have come up with solutions in order to deal with them. And your meeting happened at a very, very opportune time towards the end of the year, and you would have reflected much more on the successes of the year that we have made as this organization, partnering with other various sister organizations. And I'm sure you would then want to extend the very same relations that we have to others who have not joined and those who are not willing to work. And you want to emphasize the importance of working together, because indeed, working together, we can achieve a lot of things within this province and nationally. You would understand that not long ago, the pro bono org table was introduced in this division for a sole purpose of access to justice, and definitely for those who are unable to go to our corners in our communities where we come from, at least then they can take that opportunity to assist the most vulnerable of our communities and address, or so to say, give access to justice. That's literal meaning. But we have to find those who are unable to get justice. They must be able to access it through us here. We cannot always be about writing this. We need at least to give some hours of our time to those who cannot afford to pay our fees. I wouldn't say that they are so exorbitant, but it is our obligation indeed to give back to our people.
Yes.
If we are to do that, surely we'll find a reason to exist. If we are unable to do that, then there is no reason for us to exist, because we need to leave a legacy. A legacy, not only a financial legacy to your family, but a legacy out there in the profession that will forever outlive you and generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obujan. Without wasting any further time, I will go straight to the next speaker. I introduce another leader with affiliation to the organization from Nadel. And Nadel needs no introduction about their activism and success stories in transformation and access to justice. A stalwart advocate of excellence, Dr. Moses is a role model, and his reported decision and his thesis on leadership will require about 5 hours to present. I welcome you, my leader, to come forward. Can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. That is, I was supposed to start, but it's already in the afternoon. So I will simply say good day. Honorable judges, acting judges, magistrates, members of the NBCSA, esteemed guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great privilege for me to be invited and to attend this celebrations of 31 years of excellence, the National Bar Council of South Africa, to represent Natal at this auspicious occasion. It's also very historic, since it is, to my mind, the first time that Natal Western Cape, including myself, has been invited to attend a function of NBCSA, thanks to the man with the hat. It is an honor and privilege for us, and we are looking forward to much closer cooperation going forward. Natal's motto is equality and justice, and its focus area is reflected in the slogan adopted at its national elective conference, which took place on 24 to 27 April this year. It is, quote, placing Natal in community development through legal instruments, close quote. Having said that, we should strive to strengthen organizational solidarity and cooperation amongst all progressive forces and role players, including the NBCSA, Natal, the LPA, Advocates for Transformation, AFT, the Ministry of Justice, the Portfolio Committee on Justice, the Office of the Solicitor General, South African Women's Law, Lawyers Organization, SAULA, and even the Legal Practice Council. It is at least our governing professional structure. We should also, to my mind, strengthen collegial empowerment amongst our members, colleagues, young law graduates, and recently qualified legal practitioners, and especially students. The latter, especially students and young graduates and legal practitioners, are vulnerable and fragile in this legal profession of ours, which we all know is very challenging and highly contested and competitive. We are nearing local government elections next year, with all the political contestation that goes with it, which will take place in the context of high unemployment, extreme poverty, social and political instability caused by alarming levels of endemic corruption, drug cartels, gangsterism, and violence that tear our communities apart and causing massive pain and destruction, with more and more families being affected by drug abuse and gang violence, in which increasingly young people and children are the victims. It is in this context that we should be very vigilant as legal practitioners to protect integrity, and the independence of our judiciary and magistrate. As officers of the court, we all bear responsibility and obligation. With that said, Honorable Director and colleagues, as Nadal, we pledge our full support to you in meeting the challenges that lie ahead in the spirit of cooperation and organizational solidarity. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Marina. Before you leave, let me hand over this gift to you. Thank you. Let's give you a round of applause. Thank you very much. I was told that Mr. Booth has another commitment. So I will also ask Mr. Booth to step forward to accept his gift before he departs.
I'm not getting quite yet, but I'm happy to accept the gift. So, before you forget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Booth. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next, the speaker. Colleagues will agree with me that online litigation is now with us, and we cannot resist change. There is a speaker who will be talking to us about online litigation. That is Advocate George Capetonian. Can you welcome Advocate to come forward?
Look, it's a real honor to be here today, and honorable judges and magistrates, thank you, and Advocate Paris, thank you for the invitation. It's really, and for my learned friends and colleagues, it's a real pleasure to see you again. It's quite a journey, and going back to 1994, I want to start off with a quick story. I became a member of the National Bar back in 1989 when I first came to Cape Town. I did my pupillage at the Cape Bar. I was with Judge Desai, then Advocate Desai and Advocate Krika. And I didn't have, of course, much experience back then, but I got to the pupillage stage, and right at the end where the oral exam was given, that was right at the top floor in the Jugana Chambers building down the road here. And it's a very ominous you sit at this very long table, and me being quite short, of course, I was just sitting on the table, and all the senior counsel was sitting on both sides, and Judge Van Dijkhoff back then was the person asking the questions. And I got through the criminal and civil stuff, and then got to the motion court or rules of court. And I didn't have much experience in that, but I'd read that Adam's book. I'm sure you all know that. I know my copies, I'm sure, out of date. And I read it from cover to cover, and I knew everything, and I memorized as much as I could. And then Judge Van Dijkhoff asked me, do you know what is he asked me, I must explain what is a friendly liquidation. So, of course, I thought, and I said to myself, I never saw this word in that Adam's book. And I tried to answer, and I'm explaining about liquidations and sequestrations, and he didn't want anything to hear about this. And he carried on asking me, no, please tell us about the friendly liquidation. Then eventually, in my ignorance, I sort of gave up, and I turned to him and I said, Judge, with all due respect, as far as I'm concerned, I've never heard this term, but as far as I'm concerned, these liquidations, they're not friendly. In fact, they're very unfriendly. So that didn't go down well. Actually doing my pupillage. Then I was lucky enough to get a position as a prosecutor for many years. And then 1994, I left. I learned a lot from Mr. Booth here, William. We always used to say, if you need to see to get taught how to cross-examine someone, you had to go and see if Mr. Booth has got a court case. Then you used to know that that's how to do cross-examination. And then shortly after that, I left and I joined the National Bar in 1994. And since then, it's well, back then it was called the Independent Bar Association, and we were called Rebels. I used to laugh at that. That was quite funny. And that's why it's quite an honor to be here so many years later. With 34 years, 31 years, it's quite a journey. 2007, fast forward, I left the profession, actively appearing in court. I was mainly in the criminal courts, and then I went into the insurance industry space. And they immediately, and I want to, a lot of, many speakers have mentioned some of these points. The biggest problem that I noticed in South Africa is that despite the transformation, access to the courts and access to justice, access to the law is just was not present. You know, I noticed that even in the corporate world, in the legal insurance product as such offered by many institutions, the problem that I encountered was that the problem is downgraded. It hasn't. It's not a proper product. Practically, it doesn't assist people. It's seen as a value-added product. People get a death cover or life cover, and then you get thrown legal advice for free. Nowadays, you can go and open up a bank account, and they just give you legal advice. But it doesn't assist the person, the man in the street, or the public out there. They have to practically pick up a phone a call center. That costs them airtime. They are on hold for hours on end. Sometimes minutes, not as bad as hours, but minutes, 10, 15 minutes until they get through to a person. That person's name, sometimes, many times, is a language barrier. The person can't assist them. If there's documentation that has to be exchanged, they don't know how to get those documents to the person assisting them. If there's documents that need to be drawn up, if I need a letter of demand, an affidavit, a service level agreement, etc. I want to form a company. I got a letter from SARS. What do I do? People don't get advice, and it's sad. We realized that so far, many years after our constitution was together, stating that everyone should have access to the law, they don't. The masses still have difficulty, and they don't get that protection. They're still scared of lawyers. They're scared of going to court, and we see that every day. We have thousands of mothers who phone us and say, listen, I've got a maintenance order. Why can't I get the father listed at a credit bureau? Why do I need to go to court and wait for hours just to complete a form? Same with family violence, interdicts. The adoption, the court's social worker system in the adoption system, getting children to facilitate adoptions, that is so slow and so tedious, and people don't understand how to go about and how to facilitate that process. So we realized that the way we structured our products in the call center environment was to give assistance as quickly as possible to the person, to the individual, trying to be proactive and assist them instead of waiting for them to have a legal problem, rather assist them before that takes place. And they want the solution as quickly as possible, and that's how we built our business, and clients call in and we assist them as quickly as possible. With the birth of AI, and that's basically what I would like to end off, we designed this product. Artificial intelligence is out there. We partnered with technology companies, specifically Google, who is spending millions in South Africa. They see South Africa as a springboard towards the rest of Africa, and they really want to enhance the AI infrastructure. A lot of people are still scared of AI, and they insecure about the correctness of the information that it generates. But if AI is used properly and correctly, then it's an extremely efficient and productive tool. I foresee that with legal platforms, for instance, never mind all the other spheres, just our legal platform that we created, we generate the answers in such a way where the public can understand the law. They can get guidance. They know they can see what the theory is, whether it's a technical SARS question or whether it's a simple writing a letter of demand or maintenance case. But clients now all of a sudden have a whole new world because they've got access to the information. And our emphasis is mainly on empowering the public, empowering the masses, giving them access to this knowledge which they never had previously. Now they can simply log on to a platform, they click on a login button, they enter their cell number, and they can enter into a conversation. There's no pressure. It's a 24/7 access. I won't be long. I told Andre to warn me because I've got a tendency of talking too much. Bottom line, it analyzes documents, it drafts documents for you. It's extremely user-friendly. Our whole ethos and objective in creating the platform is that we want to empower the people, the public, in a proactive manner. Don't wait until you have a legal problem and then it's too late. Rather educate people, get the information out and give them the access so they can manage their lives in a productive manner. That way they will make the correct and right decisions, which will make the young population, especially in our country, which is more than 50% of the population, they will be making the right decisions in their lives. And once that takes place, the proactive, preventing, educating, empowering, that will make everyone more productive citizens, successful people in business, entrepreneurs. That will be a benefit for the country as a whole. So please make use of, go on and play around with it and give us feedback. We're still enhancing the product all the time. And we're making it more and more powerful and robust and more accurate to ensure that the information that comes out of it generates is user-friendly for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Advocate. Advocate Kravis, as I was sitting there, there is an observation that I just made. That hedge of yours is intimidating our press. Ladies and gentlemen, let us go to our next speaker. Our bar has the great privilege to introduce the Acting Solicitor General of South Africa, Mr. Mbeki. He is from the State Attorney Office. He will address us as to how the briefing patterns in this organization has managed to be the same as Legal Aid South Africa. We appreciate your sacrifices, leadership, and I welcome you to come forward. Thank you. Can we give you a round of applause?
Honorable Justice Tulare, Honorable Acting Justice Makoma, the distinguished guests that are here, good afternoon. Firstly, my permanent post is the head of State Attorney Cape Town, but I'm just seconded to the Office of the Solicitor General in Pretoria. Yeah, this is a very tough topic to talk about, the issue of briefing patterns. But I will not run away. I will speak about it. The Office of the Solicitor General oversees 13 offices of state attorneys. Some of the provinces have got 3 offices, some have got 2 offices. Like Gauteng has got 2. Eastern Cape has got 3. Then Limpopo has got 2 offices. It is very surprising to know that now my role seems to be an ombudsman of some sort, because all the complaints from all these offices are coming to me, mainly non-payment of fees within a period of 30 days. What was so painful when I arrived in that office was to see counsel from Gauteng, especially Johannesburg, who were phoning me even before I reached that office. As soon as they heard that there's another man coming, they all had my number. They were calling me. I had not even assumed. But then we have resolved that, and I'm sure that is the legacy that I will remember. When that lady was asked to step aside for some few months, we discovered from her office 341 invoices that were not paid. Some council had about 10, 9, 7, but no, we resolved that. Briefs are not allocated according to affiliation. I just want to put that one straight. They are not allocated according to affiliation. Whether you are a member of the GCP, Babasa, this NBCSA, as long as you are registered with the LPC, you are registered on CSD, you are tax compliant, you have got you are in good standing with the LPC, you are considered for briefs. That is what we do. And some colleagues in the room will remember it's the second time that I'm coming to a meeting of this bar association. I did extend invitation to everyone who was in that meeting to say, submit your profiles. And in fact, I started by saying, I must be given a list of all the members of this bar council. And I had to beg some colleagues to keep, but ultimately they gave me. Because what we do, we give this list to all the attorneys in the office of the state attorney. So we sent quotations, requests for quotations, and some responded, some did not respond. I even offered, I was with my office manager then, that I even offered that those who do not know how to register on CSD should approach the office manager from the office of the state attorney came down for assistance. I'm not sure whether that call was hidden. But we are still willing to assist colleagues because we want to expand this pool of advocates who are doing work for the state attorney. So we'll give that kind of assistance. The sole purpose of the office of the Solicitor General, and by extension the state attorneys, is to transform the legal profession. Transformation does not relate only to ensure that people of different colors are represented or are able to access work from the office of the state attorney. We also look at gender. We also look at the amounts that are paid. That is how we are assessed, our work is assessed. We need to have some percentage of work being allocated to PDIs, that is previously disadvantaged individuals, to females as well. So we are assessed on that, and the transformation does not necessarily mean we cannot pride ourselves as having transformed the legal profession if we are. doing what we term repetitive briefing. If you are briefing the same thing, that is why we extend invitation to say everyone must come on board. But I was told that requests are sent, but they are not respected. I am glad I've seen that paragraph 3.8 on the agenda, that there is now a George chapter of this part. I can mention here that in George, that's where we're struggling. We're struggling in George to get counsel. You will find that on a day, there are about 5 meters that are going for pre-trial. They are all allocated to one person. Yeah, because there are no other people. You allocate them to one person. But now, if you have got that office in George, then we will be able to at least spread them. So that is the word that I'm always using. Spread them. I've been saying to people, especially in the office, you can't say you do not know this council and you cannot brief the person because you do not know whether it's going to do the work. I'm saying even those that you are now confident about, this that you did not know until you gave them opportunity to do the work. And there's no way that we are going to sharpen your skills if you are not getting the opportunity. That's what I always say. I even said that in the last meeting. But I'm glad that we have got that kind of, that office that we have opened in George. The problem is resistance to change. Resistance to change in the office of the state attorney. They seem to be married to particular council. And we have been fighting ever since I came in. In fact, I started fighting when I was still in the police. So I'm also grateful now to learn that at least some colleagues from this bar do get work from the state attorney. It has been said. It's not something that I said. I had. Yeah. I'm wishing this bar both success, and I pledge that I will ensure that the offices of the state attorney everywhere, as I've indicated, we do not brief according to affiliation. I'm going to get this list. I'm going to ensure that it is distributed across the offices of the state attorneys. All the data. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We can give this meeting a round of applause. Mr. Blakey has already alluded to the fact that the National Bar Council of South Africa has since opened an office in the southern states, namely in George. I introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, our leader from that side to come and address us. Advocate.
Thank you. I've really been reprimanded to say that my speech, why was it 6 minutes? So I have reduced it now to 2 minutes. And now it's unfortunately actually that Mr. Booth left the meeting because I come from public works background. So I'm very familiar with the challenges at court. And I could have given him now the contact details for Malanga Regional Office to assist with the problems. But I come with a positive note because when I come here, I'm speaking about positivity and what is happening in the Western Cape. So I've written it down and I've already started speaking before actually properly greeting you. But thank you very much for the opportunity, distinguished guests, council, colleagues, and leaders. It's a privilege to speak to you on behalf of the Southern Cape Monty George Regional Office of the National Bar Council, a region that is undergoing rapid growth in terms of social, economic, and institutional transformation. As George grows into a key urban anchor for the Western Cape, we are reminded that development must be matched with justice, access, and meaningful institutional presence. Yet many communities across the Southern Cape remain disadvantaged, underserved, and distant from the formal legal system. This is why our work and the partnerships that we are building even today matters deeply. A major step towards advancing justice in the region was the establishment of the Eastern Circuit Local Division of the Western Cape High Court in Timberland in November 2019, bringing High Court services closer to the people of George, Oudtshoorn, Mossel Bay, Knysna, and Pietermaritzburg Bay. The expansion continued in August 2021, when the George Correctional Centre became an additional High Court venue for criminal appeals and review matters. And then another key development, and I've heard the negativity about Pietermaritzburg Bay, but it was established to handle all commercial crimes, including matters arising from the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigations, commonly known as the Hawks. This specialized court strengthened the fight against corruption, fraud, financial misconduct, and complex commercial crimes. It brings high-level investigative matters closer to the Southern Cape and ensures that there is a faster turnaround time, improved accessibility, and the professionalism of commercial crime litigation in our Southern Cape region. These developments collectively represent more than institutional progress. They are concrete steps to dignity, fairness, and visibility for communities historically marginalized from high-level judiciary processes. For many residents, traveling to Cape Town for specialized commercial and other matters was costly, intimidating, and often impossible. Today, localized judicial access offers reduced traveling costs, faster resolution of disputes, enhanced legal literacy, and more accessible and responsive justice system. In short, it provides a lot of opportunities. Opportunities for advocates and anyone in the legal profession really includes expansion of the footprint, and the opportunities presented are the following: increased appearance work in both general and specialized matters, expanded pro bono and community outreach, specialized litigation in commercial and financial crimes, advisory roles in municipalities and public institutions, growing demand for alternative dispute resolution and mediation, and opportunities for legal training and capacity building across the region. As a satellite office, our vision is simple: to build a Southern Cape where justice is accessible, governance is strengthened, and communities are empowered. With an expanding judicial presence from High Court circuit to specialized crime courts, and with the necessary advocacy opportunities, we stand on a strong foundation. I thank you.
Thank you, Advocate. With your gift. Thank you very much. To our next speaker, without wasting any time, the National Bar Council of South Africa would like to thank this next speaker. Even though she was appointed as a magistrate, she kept on making contact with our bar and assisting when necessary. Let us welcome Magistrate Kundus.
I need a microphone. Then leave your microphone. Good afternoon, esteemed council, honorable judges. They say justice is blind, so just give me a moment for this.
Before you proceed, we have people online. That is why.
All right, okay, I'll keep the microphone. Like I said, I once heard that justice is blind, but in some of our rural courts, it's sometimes not just blind, it feels like justice is also lost, stuck on a gravel road between towns. So this gathering here today is to see if we can help justice find its way. Honorable judges, esteemed brothers and sisters of the legal profession, we gather today not merely as practitioners of the law, but as its stewards entrusted with a solemn duty to ensure that justice is not a privilege reserved for the few, but a birthright guaranteed to all. Yet, in the rural expanses and impoverished corners of the Western Cape, justice remains elusive, a distant promise too often broken. Now, I have seen this. When I was still an active member of this very bar council, I had the opportunity to go to these towns, and then later also was sent there under the tutelage and guidance of my then chief, Mr. Daniel Tulari, to whom I will forever eternally be grateful for that opportunity. I was sent from town to town, and I experienced different kinds of people, different backgrounds. And there I saw that justice is really not accessible to everyone the way it is promised in our constitution. And that's really, really sad. In these legal deserts, the journey to justice is not measured in kilometers, but in hardship. For many, the nearest lawyer is a day's travel away. The roads are unforgiving, public transport unreliable, and the cost, both financial and emotionally prohibitive. The law, which should be a shield for the vulnerable, becomes an abstraction, inaccessible and remote. Economic exclusion compounds this injustice. Those marginalized among us are forced to choose between asserting their rights and meeting their basic needs. I mean, where must the budget go? There's hardly anything to budget. Do I travel to court? Do I feed my children? Legal representation for them is not a reality, but a luxury. The result, rights are eroded, not by the letter of the law, but by the silence of those unable to claim them. Our institutions, though valiant in their intent, are stretched to the breaking point. Legal aid, under-resourced and overburdened. I'm not even going to talk about the situation with the magistrates. We're not going to go there today. Anybody here from Jawasa? No, we're not going to go there, but I think you all know where we are at. Legal aid is under-resourced and overburdened. You cannot reach every village, every farm, every child whose birth remains unregistered, locking them out of education, healthcare, and dignity from the very start. We have seen matters where rural women are denied access to courts, have waited for years for maintenance orders. We have witnessed children unable to enroll in school because their births were never registered, their futures held hostage by administrative delays. In the courts, we have seen the impact of pro bono intervention. Not to take anything away from legal aid, the pro bono interventions do help a lot. They really, really do. where a single advocate's dedication has restored land rights or secured protection for victims of gender-based violence. I applaud you. Some of you are here. You know who you are. These cases are not isolated. They are the daily reality for too many. This is not merely a logistical challenge. It's a moral crisis. Now, I think that 40 hours of pro bono services is something that must be implemented and must be a must. Everyone should give back. It must become a lifeline. We must direct our expertise and our compassion to the places where the need is the greatest. And although I've mentioned the rural areas, but the same can go for some of the urban areas, for the areas on the Cape Flats. Good intentions are not enough. And of course, there are logistical problems that come into play. Like, for example, councils should have a dedicated fund to support travel and accommodation for those willing to serve in the Cape's most isolated communities. This is just an idea I'm throwing out to the National Bar Council. Service must not be hindered by logistics or personal costs. We must also recognize and empower community-based paralegals in many villages. They are the only defenders of rights, the only voice for the voiceless. Their work is not peripheral, it is foundational. They deserve formal recognition, sustainable funding, and our unwavering support. Technology too holds promise, and I must just mention, I haven't seen George Katz in like 20 years, but it's so nice to see you talk about this issue about technology. We should have mobile courts, digital mediation, online legal resources can bring justice closer to the people. But we must not also allow innovation to deepen the divide, because not everyone is computer literate. Digital justice must be accompanied by investment in infrastructure and digital literacy, ensuring that no one is left behind. We should take this on a roadshow, get libraries involved, schools, the clinics, community care clinics where people sit and wait. I've thought about, after this invitation and the, I'm almost done. After this invitation, I've thought about what can be done to bring justice closer to the people. There should be targeted pro bono service. There must be mandatory pro bono hours to the regions in the greatest need. A centralized system to match lawyers to cases and communities. Travel and logistics fund. Establish a dedicated fund to cover the cost of reaching remote areas, so willingness to serve is never stifled by practical constraints. There should be formal recognition of paralegals, advocate for formal recognition, training, and sustainable funding of community-based paralegals who are the backbone of rural justice. There should be mobile courts and outreach initiatives. Expand mobile courts and legal outreach, bringing the law directly to the people, resolving cases on site, and building trust amongst those people in our justice system. Digital justice and infrastructure investment. And infrastructure and in literacy, computer and technological literacy. These technological innovations should bridge the gap, not widen it. What I'm asking Honorable Council here today is not a plea for charity. It's a demand for justice. Your profession is measured not by the cases you've won, but by the lives you've uplifted. We must be relentless in our pursuit of equity, building systems that endure so that every child, every villager, every citizen of the Cape can claim their rights without fear or favor. Justice must not be a privilege of geography or wealth. It must be the inheritance of all. Let us together reclaim justice for the Cape's forgotten. Let us ensure that the law's promise is not an empty one, but a living reality felt in every corner of our province.
Thank you to the Honorable Magistrate. Let's give a round of applause. We are almost there, ladies and gentlemen. The speaker that I'm about to introduce is Advocate Shandray Brown. She needs very little introduction and is legendary in gender activism and access to justice. She's a member of the Cape Bar Council, and we welcome her on stage.
It's a prediction. I'm not a member of the Cape Bar Council. I'm a member of Advocates. I am a member of the Cape Bar.
To the leadership of the NBCSA, Honorable Judge Tulari, Acting Judge Makoma, Magistrate. I just memorized your pronunciation of your surname and then I forgot. Please, Kendus. To esteemed colleagues, distinguished members of the NBCSA, members on the platform, all protocols observed. I didn't get an opportunity to say hello to Dr. Moses, who happens to also have been my pupil master when it was still the term, before the term was scrapped. Years ago, Joey was my pupil master. He is now thankfully my mentor, only not the pupil master. But I'm so grateful that the term was scrapped because I don't know what I would have done after I got my pupils and what they would have called me. I suppose they would have called me the pupil mistress. But colleagues, this today will be here to celebrate your 31st provincial annual general meeting. Now that's a milestone, so I think you should actually give yourself a round. Because 31 years underscores the strength and resilience of this profession and also of yourselves. This gathering is more than just a meeting. It is a powerful reaffirmation of our collective dedication to justice, transformation, selfless service, and also to our communities, and access to the profession, most importantly, and access to justice. Advocate Paris and I attended the UCT talk with the students because VLA has a student chapter. And it actually just made us very sad to see how access to the profession is such it's something that is not afforded to most. There's a limited amount of students that are able to actually enter the profession. So it is our responsibility as the profession and as the transformative bodies to ensure that there is access to the profession. These children, it actually made me so sad to see these children speak about, ask me what more must they do, because they were told that if they get their masters and if they cum laude most of these subjects, and if they join the organizations, and if they do X and if they do Y, that they would enter the profession, but all they received was rejections. And so now you understand why mental illness is so profound and why children actually just give up or they end their lives. And I think it is our responsibility when we speak about access to justice, we must also speak about access to the profession. So collectively standing here, and that should be our first task. And I assign that to the topic that your national chairperson is going to speak about, the visionary leadership 2026 and beyond. That should include access to the profession. And it should also invite and compel all the sister organizations to participate, because that should be our first point. There's no point in us speaking about access to justice when access to justice includes legal practitioners who want to provide access to justice. And so we are excluding so many from providing access to justice by not providing access to the profession. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So
The principle, as we turn our gauge to your vision, we recognize that transformation and access to justice is an ongoing journey. It requires courage, collaboration, and a bold challenge to systemic barriers. Collectively, we must mentor emerging advocates. We must cultivate inclusive spaces for women, and we must cultivate exclusive places for Black practitioners and ensure justice transcends mere transactions. And I also see as a theme that Judge Tuladi is going to speak about. Access to justice is a call to serve communities in the far corners of the Western Cape, not transactional, I cannot pronounce that word, transactional. You see, it does happen when you works against you because we move forward. But we have to, it has to become a tangible reality for all South Africans. So your keynote address, Judge Tuladi, is profoundly apt because true advocacy is activism. And harnessing our skills to eradicate inequality and amplify silenced voices and defend the rule of law, no matter the cost or controversy, is our goal. And advocates for transformation, and as everybody sitting here today. So on behalf of ART, we, and not the ART, we pledge our steadfast support to the NBCSA in pursuing these goals. Together, we can forge a profession that excels technically while remaining socially attuned, one that truly honors transformation in the ethos of the Constitution. In closing, let us depart with renewed vigor and resolve, with a commitment to activism in our organizations, in our provinces, and also in our communities. For justice delayed is justice denied, and transformation postponed is transformation forsaken. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a fire parade in the Western Cape.
And thank you for correcting me. Someone within the organization is trying to sabotage me so that I won't get to stand again, but I can still. Ladies and gentlemen, we have almost reached the end of our program, like this session. The next speaker was our national chairperson since 2008. In 2025, he decided to retire. He is an honorary member of the National Bar Council of South Africa, and he will introduce our next speaker. I call upon Advocate Mumoti to introduce the next speaker.
Good morning, good afternoon. Before I start, let me acknowledge the confession and the progressive approach adopted by Dr. Vicky in that office of the Solicitor General. All the bad apples must leave the offices mistakenly. Those who resist change must go. That's all I can say to you. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, it's not a speech, but to introduce someone who's going to introduce the guest speaker. Because it's messed up, sorry. Just look my nose now. And ladies and gentlemen, the overall theme for today's session is about being a legal activist. in the legal profession. All the speakers before me spoke about being an activist in this profession. It is therefore fitting to introduce Advocate Makoma, an activist within the legal profession. As I've already indicated, he'll be introducing the guest speaker, and I'm introducing him. At personal level, I've known Advocate Makoma for a period in excess of 35 years. When we were young, curious law students in the former University of Transkei, now Walter Sisulu University. Advocate Makoma was one of the disciplined law students. While some of us were a bit naughty, I do not recall any negative incident about him. Advocate Makoma hails from Solo, a small rural town in the Eastern Cape. And I must say, the Advocate Makoma I know is principled, resilient, a good listener, and hardworking. And I have no doubt, with the wealth of knowledge he possesses, he'll continue to add value to the legal profession, this division, and the judiciary as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to go through the brief CV of Advocate Makoma. He practiced as an attorney for a period of 7 years, and then as an advocate for a period of 13 years, and served in various managerial in various management positions in the corporate sector, and has served as an acting judge until yesterday. So his term ended yesterday. He obtained his diploma degree from the University of Transkei, LLB from the University of the Western Cape, LLM Corporate Law from UNISA, Advanced Diploma in Labor Law, University of the Rand Afrikaanse University, now the University of Johannesburg. And he has served as an evidence leader during the proceedings of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. He has also served as an executive in Kuha Development Corporation. He's also a member of the Cape Bar and has been an activist in the legal profession in the following capacities. He has served as the provincial chairperson, the Black Lawyers Association in the Western Cape from 2022 up to date, and also as the deputy chairperson of Advocates for Transformation in the Western Cape from 2023 to 2025. His task for today is to introduce our guest speaker, the Honorable Justice Tulare. Sabulela Dagamapo, because
Commission Director, Honorable Justice Dulani, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be introduced to introduce. But before I do that, I will tell you a story whose name it is, that the odds are there to be defined. Some years ago, a baby boy was born from what was then Northern Transvaal. He grew up barefooted going to school and then matriculated at a high school called Zane High School in the Transvaal. After he matriculated, he then went to work for the South African Brewers, pushing produce there and distributing alcohol to the communities. That's a controversy and the irony of life. And essentially what it means, I must remind ladies and gentlemen, odds are there to fight. Realizing that it was not enough that matric that he passed, he left South African Breweries and went to join the Department of Justice and did away with distributing alcohol. He worked there as an interpreter. Being conscious of his mission of divine influence, he studied law through UNISA and graduated BOS. And thereafter, got the opportunity to be appointed as a prosecutor, from an interpreter to prosecutor in court. Then the journey to education did not end. He proceeded to do his LLB through UNISA, still while working. And then graduated at LLB through UNISA. He left to do articles of classification. Then with Niger. After that, he then went back to the Department of Justice and got appointed as a magistrate. His courtroom demanded him more and then got elevated to be a senior magistrate. Knowing that where he comes from, justice is not there. He was active in taking justice to the people. That is where he defined himself when he set up as a senior magistrate, a court in Soweto, a court in Mamelodi, a court in Davidson. And that's when the concept of bringing law, justice to the people was a reality. Not only that, throughout his career, he got elevated to the chief magistrate, acting chief magistrate in the East End. You will appreciate how this is proposal there. I do remember at some point in my life when I was reading evidence, there was what was called Toboza massacre. If I can just digress for a moment, where there was a conflict between what was the ANC League activists there, the South African and the defense units.
people got killed by their own criminals during those times. But it's just a digression. I'm not suggesting that this young girl transfer was involved in that. But I'm saying that's the kind of a society where he was the acting chief magistrate, where he made things happen through bringing justice to the people. It became clear that people like him are needed most in the Western Cape. That's why he was then appointed as the chief magistrate in the Western Cape in 2016. While he was chief magistrate in 2016, he had already been acting as a judge from 2014 to 2016 in Gauteng. He continued acting in the Western Cape in 2017 until he got appointed as a judge in 2022, a position which he still currently occupies. But I must also say that during the time when he was a magistrate, he made it his mission, again in the theme of legal activities, of organizing magistrates to form an organized organization called now Trust. It was through his mentality that was came to be. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to repeat that this is a clear demonstration that all are there to fight. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to call upon Son of the Soul, Judge Daniel Brown.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Where I originate from, in the funnel, we have one way to cover observing all the protocols. You simply say toilet. Now, at the age of 31, human beings get to a point where they can now parent. And it is against that background that I'm approaching the discussion today of the NBCSA as an organization that must assist in parenting. One of the children is a newborn baby in the Western Cape High Court, called the pro bono program, where we are enjoining every practitioner to give time, their valuable time for free to assist the communities and assist the courts. Now, in my discussion of saying, yes, you are now old enough to be taking justice for transforming our jurisprudence and making sure that the division of products that come out as judgments actually the majority of South Africans, not only a given few, the majority of South Africans and those who live in South Africa can be able to say our as well. So I've structured my talk, and I'll share with you the path of channels that you anticipate what we'll be talking about. The first
will be why the paradigm shift? Why should there be a need in the way we think? Why should there be alternative structures when it is necessary? And the second point will be never forget to always put your own life jacket for your safety first before you go to others. Never forget to put your jacket first. And the third, I will share with you the image of an African warrior. That guy who's carrying a spear in one hand and a shield on another. And why that should always inform your approach, especially on the child that I'm saying, I'm here to invite you, all of you. I know the organization has, but on behalf of the judiciary of the Republic of South Africa, and especially on behalf of Bench, the Western Cape Division, make up time, because South Africa needs you. And then I will touch on why your participation as we transform must also be the transformation of our jurisprudence. Why it is necessary for you to participate at the level of pro bono so that we can change. And when I'm cited 50 years to come, when I'm no more, I'm actually reflecting. Because remember, if you have forgotten, whilst our elders have been the architects of a democratic dispensation, we are actually the constructors of its jurisprudence. 50 years from now, your children and grandchildren would not know why some of the provisions in the Constitution. In trying to understand it, they will be that's fine. And while they recording the logo so that they understand what the text of the Constitution is. So I will be talking to it. And then before you start sleeping, I will sleep. All right. Now, let's start with this observation. As you may be aware, I do not have time to sit and watch what is happening in the Matanga Commission. I don't. I can only report on the snippets that I see when I have time. But one thing that I can tell you is that the quality of legal services and display at that commission makes me proud of you as legal practitioners of the country, as well as my elder brother who's representing the judiciary. And it is what I think pricks some children who are watching or who have occasion to see, to say one day I want to be a lawyer. Right. But as you watch what is displayed at the Mandanga Commission, and you come from the Western Cape, and you are an observer, an inductive thinker like Daniel Chula, there's no way you can almost be on the brink of tears. Because, as we speak, right, we don't have an African female who's a senior counsel. in the West. Not the West. It's 2025. Now, what does this mean? The dromedaries landed here. And it carried with it Roman Dutch law in substance. And later ships also landed here, carrying Anglo-Saxon processes that we have adopted. And you would know that throughout your studies, all of you sitting here, you have never read about a reasonable woman. You have never read. So the question that I'm asking myself as I sit and watching the Maganga Commission and watching my sisters reflecting the quality of legal services in the Republic, as African Senior Counsel, how can I not be jealous? Something must be very wrong. Something is very wrong in the Western Cape. And that is why there will always be a need for alternative voices in the Western Cape. Because if those voices do not speak up, if, for instance, that young lady, I think most of you would have seen her, who said, "Hello, cupcake." Yes. If that young woman wants to join the legal profession, unless we have done something, she's still going to face the same obstacles that are making sure that in 2025, the Western Cape has got no single African Senior Counsel who is a woman. And that is why it is necessary that we should talk about these things. Remember, there are things I can talk on the bench. This doesn't belong on the bench. We are in a boardroom. All right. And that is why the need for interaction between judges and the profession is sometimes necessary in the boardroom. All right? Because I must be able to stand up and say to you here, the Western Cape is naked. The Western Cape is missing the fountains of wisdom resident in African women and other women in general. It is missing out. So that is why there must be a paradigm shift. Things cannot remain as they are. And let me move on now to, I'm just speaking. You know, the debates will follow. All right. And I've said, put your own life jacket first. You see, Messi wrote our lives. None of us is here because of themselves. It's because Messi wrote your life. I mean, in the classes that I attended, I never got a single degree cum laude. Are you with me? Yeah. And there are those who got degrees cum laude. But they have not been able to, at the instance of the Messi seat, to be where I am. You can look back to those who went to class with in school. There would have been those who were brighter than you. All right? And some of them, when you meet them now in life, you can't be happy because you know the potential that resided in those people. So there is a resident of power and authority somewhere. Those who believe like me there are two repositories of that authority. As I'm standing here, I've got an underground network that's guarding me. And that's my lineage of ancestors. And there's also a deity that my mother taught me, there's a God to pray to. Now, I don't care how you define and coin in your own wisdom that repository of authority. But what I know is that whoever keeps that authority and gives you the power and the purpose for it, if you don't use it, it gets taken. You can sit back and reflect on people who you know. Those who behaved as if this authority is theirs, they end up losing it because it's not yours. The talent that you have is not yours. You are simply a conduit to use it. Don't be apologetic when it is time to use the power that is given to you. Whether you believe it's given by your ancestors, whether you believe it's given by your God, whether you believe it's given by whoever. When it is time to use it, use it. Because nature has got no room for an empty space. There's no room for an empty space, especially when it comes to power. That is why those who don't use power, ultimately they realize that the power has been usurped by others and they are using it. And we see now, the Madranga Commission teaches us that some leaders may have slept on duty. And that is why others took up the authority and used it. Because nature doesn't allow a vacuum when it comes to authority. The second thing is that authority is managed by processes, internally built. You don't have to be told by somebody to say what you're doing is wrong, to know that it is wrong. You do something knowing that it is wrong. Because you define your internal build processes of correction. So in this space, that is why there is a constitution, that's why there are laws, that's why there are ethical and moral expectations. Be obedient to those things. Be obedient to the rules of play. Reminding yourself that you are not the ultimate repository of the power. It is God. But most importantly, which brings me here on this triad of putting your safety best first, is the duty that you have. You have borrowed authority. There are inbuilt processes to manifest it. And then you have the duty. And that duty is to our people. That duty is to our people. There are things that happened in the Western Cape that should not have happened if, for argument's sake, this pro bono process was in place sometime a year. As I say, when you are an inductive thinker like myself, you see, you observe. I sometimes ask myself when I drive past tin towns in the Blackies Northeast, I ask myself, right, politicians got it right. Because perhaps their moral compass is not that of lawyers. But how do good lawyers in the province of the Western Cape allow modern day concentration camps of blacks in tin towns? Where is the legal profession? Because I can bet you most of those who end up there, it's because they did not have legal representation. Some did, but mostly did not. How can you be in a temporary structure for 20 years? How does the Western Cape define temporary? I know there's no debate about the word immediate. It seems the Western Cape must start discussing what temporary means. Because you can't have people in tin houses. You know what is happening in those areas. Make an effort to visit. It is very bad. It's a bad reflection on lawyers in the Western Cape in my books. When a grandmother has got to go and queue in public toilets with toddlers for the use of public toilets. Because remember, in those tin towns, toilets are public. You don't have your own separate toilet. You go and join. So everybody knows. There goes Daniel Tulare, and the way he's going, he's definitely not. How can there be human dignity? Now, I'm not here speaking to politicians. As I say, I'm speaking to lawyers to say, how is it possible when there is an argument and a person is to be evicted, and the city sends its officials who comes and tell the court to say, no, we can provide sink sheets, we can provide homes, and the city is the owner of land. And we know housing requires land. And we say, no, I'm a lawyer from the Western Cape. And we're doing nothing about this. And that is why I'm talking about the pro bono work. Because casualties and victims of power, and sometimes even state power, are those who appear in our courts without legal representation. All right? Which takes me now to the next thing. The jurisprudence. I want you to note a judgment, and I want you to read it at your own time. And I think it's a judgment that, in my view, makes out the case. What I'm talking, I'm speaking for myself. 3 judges spoke on this judgment. It was a full bench. Philenda, the LLPHILLANDER versus Magid and others, is still unreported. Is judgment number 106 of 2020. Case number A61. You'll find it on Saturday. I think it was issued on the 18th of September 2020. Philenda versus Magid and others, A6120 in brackets 2020. ZAWCHC number 106. Remember this number after the court name is the number of the judgment for that year. Right, 106. That's one saying judgment number 106 of 2020. And it was on 18 September 2020. Now, let me share with you why I want you to read it and why after my discussion, I want you to leave here angry and saying it's never going to happen to our people again with me being a lawyer here. I'm going to be problem. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason for my discussion. Minister Market the mother, right? Because I'll talk to Market the mother, Market the grandmother, Market the daughter, and Market the son. Are you with me? Talk just to the 4 people. Market the mother is the mother of 2 young children in Darling. See, in the Western Cape, in Darling, just outside what's this? Yeah, just outside Atlantis, right? Now, Market to the mother applies for an RDP house. Now we know the processes of RDP. You get onto a waiting list and what have you, and then it even reaches a point where the site is identified and the structure is starting to be built. All right? 2 young kids. The son is the first respondent in this matter, right? For the second respondent. Now, Market, the mother's parents are still alive. They are also beneficiaries of an RDP house. All right? As life would have it, before Market, the mother's house is registered in her name, but the stand has been identified, the structure is built, we are still just waiting for the municipal processes, the local municipality, plus the provincial office, because it's a housing story. Eh? Before the actual title deed is issued in her house, she passes on. All right? Now, the community agrees that no, this house must be inherited by the children. The whole community of Darling agrees to that. They support the grandmother. There's even a meeting which includes municipal officials to say, look, we must find a way of preserving this house for the children. All right? And that is why I'm saying your presence must mean that the outcomes of our jurisprudence is going to be what our people are going to say, my court has spoken, and own it. The municipality, it seems the politicians now, the officials, I doubt if legal services was involved, also agreed to that. But now the question was, what the municipality says no, we'll then register it in the names of the grandparents. When they check, the grandparents also already have an RDP, so as a result, the house cannot be registered in the names of the grandparents. And they asked the grandmother, now what do we do? Because the children are now basically in the hands of the grandmother. So everybody is trying, the whole community, including the city officials and the family, are trying to preserve this house for the children. And the mother says, I've got a son. He doesn't have a house, an RDP house. He's one of these naughty boys struggling with the drug problem. That's why he's in prison. Right. And there is then a visit to prison to talk to Market the uncle. Market the uncle agrees. To cut a long story short, the house is registered in the name of Market the uncle. All right. Market uncle comes out of prison. He lives with the children. If this lifestyle is so bad that it causes the parents and the children of Market the mother to actually flee from the RDP. And then he puts it on sale. And then Philander buys it. Philander buys the house. And there is a transfer from the uncle to Philander. All right?
Yeah.
And then after selling, he runs away with the mullah. All right? The grandparent and the children comes back to the house. So by that time, the house is already registered in Philander's name. All right? Philander comes and says, that's my house. They say, go to hell. Including the community. They say, you have done things before, not here. Not in our community. This house belongs to this church. All right?
Yeah.
There's an application for an eviction in the magistrate. The magistrate looks at the matter and holds the view to say, I don't understand how dominion actually moved. I have, from the facts, I have issues of concluding that Makit the uncle actually became the owner. All right? He was some kind of a regent, holding on until the children grew older. Are you with me? Right. As a result of which the magistrate says, I'm not going to evict because they are not in unlawful occupation. Right. And this question of true ownership must first be ventilated. The matter comes to the High Court. Right. And a full bench is constituted. And that's where I say, pro bono, you may be helpful. Because when the matter came to the High Court, the Makit, the grandmother, and the grandchildren did not have money. With the result that the matter was unopposed before the High Court. Right? And there is a common law principle. You remember I said there are laws that came with the dromedaries. Precarium is one of them. Right? One of my brothers holding that, no, it was out of liberty and generosity and friendship that these children were in that house. And then when he said, no, well, my friendship and my generosity ends, they have no business to remain. They must go. One of my sisters agreed that they must go, but for different reasons. To say, no, by the time the application was made, Philander was already the vote, the registered vote. So they were in unlawful occupation. That's the end of the story. So the question of and that is why the judgment of the court resulted in the people of Darling not feeling that actually the court is there, rightly or wrongly. But the point that I'm making is I'm not debating the correctness or otherwise of the judgment. It's a full bench. It binds me. Are you with me? Yes. The point that I'm making is I truly believe that if there was counsel on pro bono for that family, the position and the reasoning of the magistrate would have found some way into being part of the issues to be determined. And the question of whether, where there is agreement, including by the uncle, to say the house will be registered in my name for as long as the children are growing until they are in a position to be handed back. Whether there's anything else around there, which gives something for the kids to remain in the house. Are you with me? So that's why I'm sharing with you this judgment. I want you to read it, but my sense of justice, I just have to confess, My sense of justice is with the community of Dali. Under the circumstances, my sense of justice is with the community of Dali. But there's a judgment that binds. And I'm sharing with you this to indicate to you how your absence in matters which actually deserves the development of our jurisprudence is to the detriment of the poor. That's the point that I'm here to make. Right. To say it is to the detriment of the poor, and as we discuss our role, we must bear in mind to say there are those who can't afford our fees. What about them? All right. Now, before closing, I'll touch on what I've said is the concept of an African market. When you enter this space, where you fight for people, and I'm speaking from the authority of Daniel Tulare as a young man. I was what the security system of the time labeled clap hoy. Right? Even clap hoy. I come from that school. Right. Now, the concept of an African market, I'm saying, from that experience when I was growing up as a young man, you will realize that sometimes when you start fighting for people, you must learn to fight with one hand. Are you with me? Yeah. You must learn to fight with one hand because the other hand, you must use it to shield yourself against the very people you are fighting. Those who are in positions of leadership would know that. If you have been a leader, you know that sometimes you'll be fighting for people who are fighting you. Yes. Yeah. Right. So I'm sharing this with you so that when it happens, you remember the concept of an African model. That's why there's a shield. You don't stab those that you fight with. You also don't use your as a guide for those you're fighting for. You only use the shield. Because the assegai is meant for the enemy. Never forget that. Never forget that. Because there are going to be challenges as we go forward, especially in this pro bono work that I'm inviting you to. All right. So you are going to start having issues amongst yourselves. You're going to start having issues with the communities. Just remember, the assegai is not meant for your fellow member of the same regiment. It is also not meant for the community for which you're fighting. If they want to stab you or fight, just use the shield. Only. Never the assegai. Never the assegai. All right? Because if you start killing your own, you're killing the very hope of success. You're killing the very prospect of winning that war. Now, in conclusion, I would just say, as we speak, a woman in Dosri or Langeman needs a protection order. Right. And that's the exposure my sister talked about. Right. I can share now my strategies because I'm no longer in that space. But I wanted people to understand the environment. I know when I send her to series and these other towns, you know, you wouldn't sit well because I know she's a married woman with children. All right. She's the wife and mother of children. And I'm sending her out of town. Right. But there was one thing. Acclimatize yourself to your environment. Know the challenges and the space in which you operate. A woman in those river in Langeban, the courts there are not sitting every day. It's a Close River is being served by Worcester. Langebani is being served by, what's this district town on the next to where they're building a big bridge now? No, the one on the N7, the right side. I'll remember the little town before, I'm talking about Langebani. I'm saying on the N7, before Citrusdal, or after Citrusdal, there's that little town there. Clan William, right? Langebani is served by Clan William. It's distances. Look, there's no public transport, which means to find a protection order, you file it in the police station. And only when the police have time, are you with me? Or have a trip to town, they take the application with you. Otherwise, you'll have to wait the day of the sitting of the magistrate on the periodical. That's the first thing. The second thing is if it is not people who can afford, because there is no public transport and because there is poverty, the only transport that they can use is a police van when it goes to the court during a court sitting. Now, what does that mean? The abused and the abused are traveling the same van. At the back of the same one. All right? From those River to Worcester and or from Langebani to Glenville. That's the reality of the environment in which we see. So as you sit in your chambers as council preparing papers and asking yourself certain questions, for you they can make sense. To say, but why did she do this? Why couldn't she do that? But I'm just sharing with you the reality of the environment, that you must be too slow to be a chamber critic. Assuming that the services that are readily available for a person who lives in Camps Bay, who drives a Porsche, the environment and the circumstances are the same. They are. Sometimes what happens, remember, is that very complainant, for her to get to the police station in Langebani, has walked 5 kilometers to get to the police station on foot. My sister referred to a gravel road because she knows. All right? She knows. So the context of the Western Cape, especially in far-flung towns. I mean, there's a town just before Oudtshoorn, Ladysmith, right? It has had a court for many years, but till today it doesn't have a court interpreter. Till today, on the permanent staff establishment, on the organogram, there's no court interpreter. So those are the challenges that you must anticipate, and for which we rely on your wisdom for solutions as we walk the path. So activism is necessities. Activism is not for cowards. Activism is not for those who conform. History never remembers conformists. History always remembers those who disrupt. I'm inviting you to be disruptors of the Western Cape. Thank you.
One. Advocate Clarice, please step forward.
Thank you very much. If you have a look at our program, We had a lot of draft orders, but I think the judge signed it, I call order. What we have decided before is we know that some of our guests has other person engagements. We're going to shoot straight to lunch now, but I'm going to do a both of thank to our guests that meet us soon. Colleague, I think we need to take a seat first while thank you. All right, so we're very thankful to Honorable Judge Tulare. I was wearing my hat today because I need to put this tie. Then I feel some policemen. It will be before the but longer. But it's true what the Honorable Judge is saying. There are many issues that are critical. And he touched on some of that in his counsel. We thank your words of wisdom and also activism in your speech. We take note that the authority is there to tap into, and the authority and the talent you have, not for your own benefit, for you only, you are a vessel. In your chambers, you remain a vessel. We also take note that with power, there's no room for empty space. I think the judge says do not sleep on duty. And your duty is during office hours and after office hours. I think that was judge was saying to me personally. Also, judge says something very good. And he challenged each and every practitioner here today and those online. How do good lawyers allow the current modern day prejudice and injustice to communities and far and beyond the borders of the southern tip? And it would do very well to use the Philander case. Stop using Flexcon Evans Wilson. Start using other format decisions. As Judge says, it's not a darling judgment. The communities in those far corners, some of them will not understand the consequence and the effect of what that judgment created as a precedent. And as lawyers, we must work towards implementing and improving jurisprudence. To Advocate and Acting Judge Mahoma, all voluntary associations, I can say, because I associate with them at the pro bono days. We really appreciate of your journey that you are on. You have proven to be an agent for change and unity for like-minded protagonists of this country. And while you hail from the Eastern Cape, you are becoming a darling of provision. To the Solicitor General, we confirm your commitment to breaking the law and to all practitioners. I'm going to quote the judge, because I know where you are at now. It's a very challenging time. Judge said, fight with your one hand, and with your other hand, draw power from meetings like this. All associations, together they invite you and we support you. Sometimes you have to be brave, and your other hand, be holding it with you as you go change fair briefing patterns. To the BLA, your flame burns in this province, And we look forward to working with you as the National Bar Council. And I work with you also as one of your leaders in this province. But I want to quote the judge that the PLA must take it back to the instructions. Cowardism. We must fight against cowards in the passages in the court and in making policy decisions that affect the litigants. To AFT advocates for transformation, Advocate Bar, and the SA Bar Association. We meet you all the time as one of your representatives at Pro Bono Guest Project. And we work very well together as bars. And I think it's because the leader that's representing AFT today, she is so good in forging relationships across them. And as a leader, I'm trying to emulate her. I think I'm getting there. Teach me more. Okay, thank you. To Magistrate and Joasa. You mentioned Joasa and Judge was introduction to Judge. We heard about his role in Joasa. All I can say to sum up, the roads that are gravel in the delivery of justice is something that magistrates can also level in assisting all litigants before them to have access to fair and activism. Sometimes we cannot always be procedural. And again, I was again challenged by the judge. What did he say? He said, I don't care. Authority is there for you to tap into. So magistrates, you have been challenged. Human Rights Africa advocate Cat George Cascadella. We appreciate your innovative, your online pragmatic approach and the long and rich activism project that you are dealing with. Your name says that you are willing to go throughout the African continent, but we would like your footprint to be deep in the Western Cape, and we would like to partner with you in the Southern Cape. And thank you very much for your sponsorship for today as well. Okay, and then to all the members of the National Bar Council, we thank you and all other guests being here. The meeting will continue after lunch where we debate some of these prickly issues. We will excuse our guests who have to leave. So we're going to hand over some gifts quickly, and then we're going to move to the lunch and have some music. Music and just chatter. All right. So firstly, I think we need to hand over a gift to Honorable Judge Tulari. Where is my assistant? Assistant Chipapa. Where are the kids? Can you assist them to bring all of them? We want to give our stakeholders. Judge Tulari, not Judge Tulari from the High Court would like to give from the National Bar Council. Thank you very much for your time. You have not always been transactional. Like all the lawyers here, we are grateful to all of you. You use your family time, you use your own petrol. That is part of the program. Thank you. The PLA, my comrade, Please come collectively. Comrade Bob, my chairperson in the Western Cape. Thank you very much again. Always being in support of the National Bar Council, assisting our pupils as well as the province. Very we have given it to Mr. Jackie and NBC. You see, it's anonymous. Pro bono activism to a certain extent. Post transactional. Okay, and then we had handed the chief to our magistrate and to Adele. We had forgotten the agents of change. Advocate Makoma, we apologize. Maybe offer you a gift on behalf of the National Bar Council. Advocate Makoma, all our gifts are branded like this. But for you, it will not be a conflict of interest because you have been promoting so many organizations in the province. So on your desk, you will have NBCSA, I don't think we have placed less on your desk. Did I miss any guest? Yes, okay, thank you very much. We will then proceed to lunch. Before we adjourn, maybe allow our guests first to proceed to the banquet area, and then we will come sit down and have some juice and some free food, and then take leave of our guests. Thank you very much. Can you open the doors, please, there, Malele? Were you playing soccer today or during the week? It's a private joke. Malele was involved in soccer during the week. I'll get
happy. So fine. So managing. Okay, let's
Very well.